Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us at AUA Hub. And today we have myself, Carol Cook. We have Neil Janklow, who is a yoga master. Neil, what else do you, you're like a man of all trades.
Yeah, lots of hats.
Lots of hats.
Well, yeah, the energy work and readings, as well as I do a workshop called Tune Your Instrument, which is not sounds like it has to do with music. It does, but it also has to do with your body and its energy centers. So yeah, yoga is all the way back decades, and yeah, it's and also music and sound audio, and doing graphic designer too.
So he is extraordinary. For anybody who would like to get a hold of Neil, we'll have some information on the CTR network page so that you can do that. We have Gloria Steiner, who is a medium and psychic reader. She is on assignment today. And then we have Chris Ann Carwitz, who is a mystical psychic, and she is on assignment today as well. And so it is with a lot of happiness that I want to introduce our guest, who I've known for a couple of years. And he is truly, truly very gifted, and is Stacy Byerly. And Stacy is a well-educated, well-informed practitioner of Theta Healing. And for those of you who are not quite aware of what Theta Healing is, I'll have Stacy fill us in on that. But before we get started in devouring all the information Stacy wants to share with us, I just wanted to share with everybody who's listening across the United States and Canada and the other countries, what's happening where I'm located at, and this is in California of the United States. We have had rain, flooding, more rain, hail showers, excessive winds, and our snowpack in the Sierras, which is between California and Nevada. I heard on the news today that it's at 200% of normal. And we've been in drought conditions for what, like 9 years, Neil? Is it 9 years?
We're still in drought. Yeah, it's been a long haul. And yeah, with all this rain, we're still considered in a drought.
So with all the snowpack that we currently have, and there's more snow expected, anybody that's traveling, just take that into consideration. So a couple more things that I personally want to share, and this is not paid for advertising, but I had volunteered for 2 years in a row at a function called Contact in the Desert. And I went back in 2016 and 2017, and Contact in the Desert actually had George Norrie, who was from Coast to Coast, attend, Jimmy Church, and then also they had a whole host of scientists and people that written books and, you know, have so many things, even like Nick Pope. Nick is going to be there. And so this is going to be June 2nd to June 4th. And it will include so many intelligent people. And this is going to be held in Indian Wells, California. So I just wanted to get that in for those of you who are people that are interested in UFOs, alien life, mystic things that are happening in our world. And so the mysticism continues. And so now I'm going to introduce again Stacy Byerly. So welcome, Stacy.
Thank you, Carol. How are you doing?
We're doing good. A little bit damp around the ears here with the rain.
Yeah, it's raining everywhere.
So I do want to welcome you with open arms to this AUA Hub podcast. And I know that Neil and I both have been students of yours, and we continue to be students. And there is just so many different things when we talk about different modalities. But Stacy, can you fill us in a little bit and share what Theta Healing is to you and what people can derive from it?
So Theta Healing is going up to some people call it super consciousness, some people call it God, Yahweh, Creator, whatever you choose to believe in, going up to the seventh plane, as we call it in Theta, and working with the creative force of the universe to pull and replace and download feelings, and pulling trauma, and there's a whole bunch of different stuff you could do with it, different aspects of it. So the most common is like, okay, we start out with a situation. Here's what happened. Let's go dig into it, get all the stress, trauma, and drama out of it, and then let's download the lessons from it and have it done and complete. Because if it's not fully done and complete, it will repeat itself in subtle ways. So, but also with Theta Healing, we can do some really fun stuff like angel reads and soulmate reads. Some people call it soul retrieval, so we can cut ties with an intimate partner that you're yearning for, or that you keep going back to. We can dig into the root of why that's happening, and really better somebody's life through instilling Creator's truth of things rather than reliving old patterns.
Well, I tell you, there was with the number of classes that I've taken with you and you being my instructor, I do have I want to make mention of those people like myself who are a little bit stubborn to see their own patterns. That the Theta Healing and the opportunity to dig, to get to information and how you can heal different aspects so that you can create a much better life for yourself in some regards, is completely possible. And while we're here, let me just introduce my brother, Tim Glazier, has joined us this evening. And so there's the hand. Hi, Tim. And with that, I do want to say that this podcast came about from one of the classes that I was in with Neil and Stacy. And so I have that education to thank for this. And so all of you can benefit from that information. So Stacy, when you first started out many, many moons when you were a young man, how did you feel your life was going to go, and how did you get involved with Theta Healing?
Well, I mean, that's a very long story, but I will truncate it a little bit. When I was young, I could always feel people's stuff, whether they be happy, sad, whatever that is. And I could see that what issue that person was having, whether it be sadness or whether they were really happy, that would be amplified, that sort of thing when I was a kid. And I thought, as young kids do, doesn't everybody have this, and some people have it to different degrees, but it's whether you're in tune to it or not. I was just naturally in tune to it, and I was seeing things that I thought people could already see, so when I was a little bit older, I felt like I was going in the wrong direction. I was It's only a few years ago. I thought I was going in the wrong direction. It's like, I need some help. I need some direction. And right then and there, I circumstances and people came into my life. And one of my really good family friends showed me Theta Healing, and he said, here's what it is. He gave me a name of a practitioner. I started working with her for 2 or 3 years, and we are still great friends. And it's really been an awesome journey because I've lost 100 pounds, traveled across country 2 or 3 times. I've lost count. When I used to be scared of the world, I used to be really like, okay, what am I supposed to be doing? So it's given me a sense of purpose in helping people. I've always been that way. So how Theta Healing really came about was rather serendipitous. So.
Okay, serendipitous. It leave me on a cliff. Can you tell me? Tell me about that.
Well, I mean, it's just circumstances just lined up. It was when you're in alignment, can't really explain how it lines up all the time, but it's whenever I asked for something, it was there. And ever since I've been doing Theta Healing over and over, it's always been there. It may not be in the way that I expect or the way that people expect, but now there's a greater sense of being cared for by the universe, carried, as it were, as in more of a co-creative process rather than, the old feelings of being lost. So I guess I found my authentic self while practicing and teaching Theta Healing, and it's been a wild journey.
And working with you for a couple of years now and taking classes from you, you're very well connected. And I know that my brother Tim he's met you, but he hasn't taken any classes with you. But Neil, I know Neil has taken classes with you. And Neil, do you have some feedback as far as how this Theta Healing has evolved with you?
The evolution of Theta Healing, it's introduced. Yeah, it was introduced by the common friend, and my motivation is different to why I wanted to get involved, or why I was curious about it, and we went over that in a previous podcast. I was very, very curious, and once I learned it within hours, it was, we applied it. The phone started ringing with people in like near death situation. They were like, it was incredible. It was just some door opened, and it was not not something that I went and joined a like I didn't join any group saying, Mom, I'm hanging a shingle on my door, I finished the certification. And no, the phone just started ringing, and it rang a few days in a row. And Carol, you and I did some tandem healings, and they had various results. So that's the evolution was fast and furious, and just got a feedback from one of the people. We got consent from the family because she was in an induced coma with us. It's a long story, but we just got. I just forwarded you the update. She received replacement lungs. She's in the hospital for COVID in a coma, and and now she's going to go ahead and get married. This is a young woman who had was at her oxygen level was critical, and we didn't even know that at the time. We were like so uninformed about the medical procedures, but we're just doing what I learned in the class with Stacy, applied the teaching, the classes, and it was instantaneously applicable in a unexplainable way. So that's very out there. I know to the listener, it sounds ambiguous. It sounds magical. It is healing, and there's a difference between remedying someone's physical ailments and healing. And I'd love to hear Stacy's get into that. It's like a question in my mind: is a difference between energy healing and fixing, a person's organ that's completely been damaged. However, but there are exceptions where the instant healing can happen, and maybe you can talk a little bit about that, the differentiation between healing and Western allopathic medicine.
Yeah, that is an awesome subject to get on. Essentially, we manifest all of our reality all at once. We are responsible for everything that happens, to a certain extent. And that's not to blame or do anything. It's just like we create our own reality. It can be whatever you want it to be. So when it comes to sickness, a lot of times people have manifested that sickness for a reason, for a teaching, as it were. So as soon as that teaching is cleared, as soon as that lesson is done and complete, no need to repeat, as I like to say, it generally the illness will start to subside and get better. And by no means am I saying, don't use all forms of treatment. Of course, continue with your medication regimen and your doctor, but there's a set of beliefs that are instilled in us when we have a sickness around the organ, around, for example, the brain, the heart, around the blood. There's a set of beliefs that can be in there that are causing some of this stuff to manifest. So as we clear them, they get better. And the Creator can heal anything in an instant. So it's all in what we create. So one of the things that's coming to mind right now is divorcing oneself from the sickness, separating oneself from the sickness. So it's like, oh, I have XYZ, cancer, I have a cold, all of that stuff. I have fibromyalgia, whatever it may be. If you take ownership of it, you'd be creating it in every moment. So at least in my personal journey with illness and all this sort of stuff, the first thing that I had to do is separate from that as an identity, and really make friends with the disease, disorder, dysfunction, illness, whatever it was, and then figure out what it was trying to teach me. And as I figured out what it was trying to teach me, everything got better, whether that be muscular tone, reflexes, just ease of movement. All of these things got better over time.
And you were severely disabled. I mean, I know you may not want to get into it, but you were. I mean, I know the background a little bit, and you did miraculously reversed your situation. I mean, you were immobilized at a very young age.
Yeah, I had motor difficulties, at a very young age, and there was a lot of pain and suffering and a lot of physical pain and suffering, of course. But later in life, I found beliefs that were tied to that, as in creating pain and suffering because of this thing way back over here, illustrating, of course, like my soul came in with this and it manifested in my leg pain, to use a simple example. But some people come in with obligations to suffer, and it's a little like, you will live that way until you think differently and clear that belief of, I need to live through suffering. As you do that, everything gets better, I would say. So whether it be spasticity, movement, and instant healings are possible with other diseases. I've had a lot of experience with healing my own body, and things that used to take years, months, years to heal take seconds. A lot of it boiled down to stubbornness, though. It's like doing things the hard way and taking on other people's suffering. And, I suffer for the family or something of that nature is the thing, all things that I've dealt with. And as that happened, I met people and circumstances to make really, really strong strides in the right direction. So now I've built muscle tone and all that sort of stuff, and I can move much easier, to use myself as an example.
He's so humble. He's he's modest.
He really is.
He's so
very
humble. I should tell the audience that well, I maybe should get your permission. Can I name the condition that you had, or could you?
Okay, so I experienced cerebral palsy. Now, normally, Western medicine says, "Oh, that's not curable," and whatever. I'm not saying I cured it. I just learned to get along with it much better.
But your legs were not functioning, right? The muscles were so tight you couldn't. You were in a wheelchair.
No, I was not.
Oh, okay, but
I was not able to walk until I was 4, and then I had surgeries and all that, and I was able to walk, but I had to deal with like all kinds of muscle tightness, all kinds of other things that came about, like general fatigue and having not a lot of energy, and it was really difficult for my body to build up muscle. And as I cleared beliefs and as I got together with a really good doctor, we really worked on it from all angles, and I was able to build muscle and get strength back. And really, I still have some things that I still deal with, but it's remarkably less than it ever has been.
Mm-hmm. Can you tell us about your ability with your speech? When did I remember you told me that you started, you were not able, or you chose not to verbally communicate, or you couldn't, or maybe physically?
Okay, so I was always able to physically communicate, but I didn't communicate much. I was very quiet as a kid. Mm-hmm. But it was, what we've noticed is that my flow of speech has gotten a lot better. My flow of speech there was gaps in thought. So it's firing in the neurons took a little longer because there's interference there. So I would have to go, oh, what am I thinking about? Oh, that's it. And, through Theta healing and getting healthier and several things with my doctor, it's just gotten a lot better. My flow of speech has gotten better. My movement's gotten better. I don't have, my muscles don't seize as much. And that's all from Western medicine and clearing beliefs and really getting in tune with my body and what cerebral palsy has to show me. And a lot of it came up of, I think I've used this in class before, being the family support battery, like emotional support battery, and absorbing everybody's pain and suffering. That was number one. Number two was, it was teaching me how to be unique. And we don't need a disease, disorder, dysfunction, or anything to make us unique. We're innately unique. So as I kind of shifted that way, it was awesome. It was, I started noticing that some people still see, oh, do you need help, or do you have something, or people say things, but it's drastically reduced as I've cleared that belief, because that set of beliefs, because whatever beliefs you have, you are emitting those, and that's what you attract. So that's what people see when they encounter you, if that makes sense. So when I walk through the airport, I'd be like, some people would be like, oh, do you need a wheelchair? And I'd be like, no. And some people would be like, you look fine. They have that energy of, I don't need to bother him kind of thing. But it used to be like a poor me sort of energy before I started theta healing and before I started working on myself. So it's gotten a lot better.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Stacy. That's it's life-changing. I mean, seriously, and for a lot of people who hear about this, I know that they're going to have needs and want to contact you. So what I'm going to do right now is we're going to go ahead and take a short commercial break. And then when we come back, we'll continue talking with Stacy Byerly. So thank you. Dreams can come true if you believe your story is real.
Today's sponsor is Angel Heart for You. Nestled in the heart of beautiful downtown Benicia, California. Come embrace the aromas of scented candles, essential oils, incense, and aromatherapy products as you wander the aisles of our inspirational, metaphysical, book, and gift shop. Please call 707-745-2024. Dreams can come true if you only believe your story is real.
So thank you. This is Carol Cook, and our guest today is Stacy Byerly. And Stacy, as you were sharing with us before we just went to break, you were discussing some these things that are just so inspirational, that people who have maybe suffered illnesses or traumas, however they can find healing, they can find healing. And you found it with using theta healing. Can you discuss what your training path was with theta healing a little bit? And I mean, I know I'm hard-headed, okay? And I just have to keep bringing that up because there was a couple of opportunities that I could have walked right on by, and I went ahead and I dove in. And I don't know, for you, as an instructor, as a student, what was theta healing like?
So this starts when I was 4. So my family friend that introduced me to theta healing was my father's mentor, and we've known each other since I was 4, right? there's a whole story behind that. But when I asked for help from the universe, he came back into our lives spontaneously, like everything clicked. He came in and he started helping us with a trade show, and he showed me Theta Healing and showed me a lot of different things, what an empath was and all this sort of stuff, because I never had labels for anything. I never had anything. I was just like, why do I feel kind of crappy right now? It's like, oh, like some of that's not mine, some of that's not yours. You're taking on other people's stuff. Okay, cool. Let's learn how to take care of that. So the first step was figuring out like what an empath was and what energy was. And then I moved on my own, and I started I did basic in Hawaii, which is a really wonderful place. If you have the opportunity, go. It is wonderful. And I had a fantastic time there. I had like this eye-opening moment. And, that was the basic class. I was just like, whoa, this stuff is really interesting. In basic, you learn how to do a reading, a healing, and a scan, and a grab bag of tools, angel reads and all that sort of stuff. And I was just like, I'm floored at what's going on, right? Like, and of course I had things like, is this really real? Am I really seeing this? Am I going nuts? But no, I mean, every time I read that, it made sense to the other person. So out of that, I've gotten a nice saying, just see and say, whatever you're seeing, say it, because it'll make sense to the other person somehow. But in a year later, in 2020, I took advanced online. Of course, then we were dealing with the pandemic. And then from advanced, they made all the other classes online for the most part. And I took class after class after class. I took all the practitioner classes, almost all the practitioner classes within a year and a half. And it was just one after another. And then some of them I flew out to Montana, and I was taking day classes and night classes, practitioner classes. And it was a whirlwind. What I didn't clear in one class, I cleared in the next class. What we didn't finish in one class, we cleared in the next class. So it was like boot camp. It was very intense. By no means do I advocate somebody do that. Of course, learn anything that you're drawn to at your own pace. It's just whenever I get into a new thing, and even if it's like a new cell phone or a lighting fixture or something else, I dive in deep and figure out everything about it. So I applied that to Theta Healing, and yeah, it was pretty fast.
But that's an intense amount of training. I mean, I know for myself, sometimes it's a little bit difficult to retain some of the information. Would you find that taking the different classes helped you retain it that much better?
Yes, it's a little like learning a language, right? Learning a language requires the best way to learn a new language is to immerse yourself in it.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to Montana, I immersed myself in it, and was doing it for 5 weeks straight.
That is intense. That is very intense. And
I mean,
I don't know how many people could, and during COVID, the the time that everybody was blocked, it probably was an opportune time to take a lot of those classes back to back.
Yeah, it was interesting to say the least. From flying out, when I flew to Montana, I left Santa Cruz to the San Jose airport late, and then I got there somehow within an hour. I got pushed through security in like 5 minutes, and they were calling my name when I was walking up to the gate, and I just walked right in. So I can't, emphasize enough, when you're in alignment, it just happens. Sometimes the creative force of the universe is like, no, you're going this way. Let's put some wind in your sails. So it was quite funny. It was like, and then I look back and I was like, oh, that happened all right. And then when I tell other people there like that, it was like, that isn't normally possible. I was like, okay, well, apparently it is possible. So I can count many a times where, sort of luck has been on my side. Some people would call it luck, but it's just the universe putting wind in my sails, and I am really grateful and I'm thankful for that. So
Neil, did you have something that you wanted to add or say?
I just was thinking of Tim of online, possibly have with a question, because we haven't heard anything.
No.
Did Tim have anything to add or ask, or anything curiosity?
I'm being a sponge.
Oh, you're absorbing. Okay.
right.
That's perfectly.
Be the sponge. Embody the sponge.
Great.
Tim was with me, and we met Stacy face to face, and that was really enjoyable. I'm sorry, Neil, go ahead. You were going to say something.
Oh, there's so many things come up when Stacy speaks. Back at the beginning of the call, there were some terminology, some terms that were floated out, that are kind of they need to be defined a little bit. For the term download and digging, they don't mean the same thing in general lexicon. In theta healing, they mean something else.
Okay.
Theta healing is interesting in the sense that it combines psychology with like kinesiology and like energy healing, visualization. This has got a whole plethora of angles and methodologies derived from like off the shelf new age techniques, as well as some healing techniques that shamanism and indigenous cultures have used for thousands of years. It also works with energy centers of the body, and yoga. It derives from a lot of methodologies and practices. And can you touch on, or could you explain what those two terms, like digging, and the other one was, what did I say? I lost it.
Digging and downloads. Yeah.
Downloads. Yeah.
Mhm.
Download to me is like something you do in the middle of the night, it goes to the cloud.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So technology, right? We download things. So it's a little the same. It's sort of like channeling energy. So we go up to the creator of all that is, source creation of all that is. We call it the seventh plane in theta. Other modalities may call it something else. And we download. A download can be a phrase somebody needs to hear, even, creators telling me to tell you this. But in general, a download is like, would you like to know what it feels like to be happy? Would you like to know that you are worthy of being happy? And by the way, you can say yes to those if you'd like those. Let me facilitate that for you if you'd like. And what happens there is we use the digging, which is basically psychologically digging, of when is the first time that that happened? And whatever comes up, the brain of the client will lead you in places that is unique to that client. If you go into a session thinking you know where it's going to go, I mean, there is commonalities, but every person is unique. So every person has their own wiring of like, this is connected to this and this is connected to this. Generally speaking, it's the earliest memory of, oh, you feel rejected. When was the first time that you felt rejected? And then we work down to get to the root of the issue. And we pull the stress, trauma, drama, any anxiety, any root negative issues out through the creative force of the universe. In Theta Healing, we call in the healing, and we are the witness. Creator is the healer. So I am merely being a witness to your healing, in which it's your relationship with Creator in that case. So after it's removed and sent up to God's light, Creator's light for healing, then we download replacement feelings of, if we're dealing with stress, trauma, and drama, maybe it's a download of, I know what it feels like to live drama free. I know what it feels like to feel my body. I know what it feels like to be in my body. I know it is safe to be in my body, by the way. If you would like those, just say yes. And basically, that's a download. We dig down, we get to the root of the situation, and we facilitate downloads to instill more positive patterns according to Creator's truth or God's truth or whatever you call source energy.
Helpful, thanks. So David, you covered downloads and then in the digging as well. Yeah, that helps clarify, because that is one of the, to me it's because I've had some experience with mysticism and energy, as far as yoga and energy centers and meditation, and then psychology. And this kind of merges the two along with healing arts. And what I'm curious about is it also has a very Western feel to it. It's like a Judeo-Christian shades are there, because you're working with seeing yourself as imperfect. That has tones of Christianity, Judaism. The sinning, man is imperfect and God is perfect, and we're striving to be more like Creator, and therefore we have to shed all this negativity and all this karma and stuff. Some people who are a little critical of that mindset say, well, why don't we just say we're all perfect to begin with and just focus on that, instead of having to see ourselves as flawed and having to repair and pull and replace, download. Maybe you could speak to that a little bit. I'm being an advocate here.
Right. So there is perfection in the imperfection. Everything is as it needs to be. It's not, I wouldn't say it's viewing oneself as imperfect. It's just refining, and it doesn't have to have a Judeo-Christian lens. Some people have that lens and it works with that lens. Of course it does. But I've also worked with people in India, and they do it a little bit different, based on person, really. It's Some people use the term creator, some people use the term dimension, some people use a lot of different terminology. It's just getting creator source truth on whatever it is, because as we go through lifetimes, whether that be past lives, future lives, concurrent lives, whatever the belief system is, we develop, like for an example, love hurts. If one was abused when they were young, they have certain conditions around love and certain things around being safe that is the person's truth and not necessarily creator's truth. All creator wants us is to prosper and thrive and create and experience life. And what I personally think of creator is a benevolent parent. Okay, we want to experience this, whatever it will be. The universe says yes. If it's positive, you're going to have a great life. You're going to have a set of beliefs that serves you. But when you have a situation that is complicated, stress, there's a set of beliefs as to why it's stressful, depending on the situation. And what we do is we figure out why are we creating that in our reality, and then we send that up to creator for healing, and then we live with more ease. And it can have a Western feel to it, but it's all based on a person's unique beliefs.
Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you for sharing that. We're going to go ahead and take our last commercial break for the rest of the show. And when we come back, we still have more questions for you, Stacy. So,
Sounds like fun.
okay, we'll be right back. Thank you.
Today's sponsor is Stewart Fitness. Working with a professional personal trainer with years of experience is one of the fastest, easiest, and most successful ways to improve your health, fitness, and lifestyle. Specializing in working with clients with health issues, sports injuries, and proven results with clients losing 30 pounds all the way up to 100 pounds or more. Make the best decision of your life now and contact Brian Stewart at Stewart Fitness, 415-397-4276.
Well, we're back for the last couple of minutes of the podcast for AOA Hub. This is Carol Cook. Our guest today is Stacy Byerly. Stacy, can you tell us how anybody can reach out to get a hold of you?
Sure. They can schedule a discovery call, which is completely free on my website, Ether Wellness Center, etherwellness.center, and I'll leave the information in the show notes.
Okay.
And my phone number will also be there, and my email. We can you can text me or email me any questions you may have about scheduling a session or possibly getting into one of the Theta Healing classes that I teach every so often. And I'm available all the time for questions, so I would welcome that very much.
That is wonderful. I also wanted to ask you about how widespread is Theta healing? I know that with some of the contacts that I've had and in the classes that I've taken, that I'm finding that Theta healing is international. Is this true?
Yes, it's international. In fact, it has in my experience, a bigger following internationally than in the US. There are plenty of people that do it in the US and people that facilitate in the US. Many teachers in the US. The institute is in Montana. You go there physically or online now. and then you can go take classes there. Of course, those are instructor classes, but internationally, you can go to Switzerland and take classes, and there's a lot of teachers in places like Switzerland, Germany, Italy, you name it, there's probably a Theta Healing teacher there. So it's very widespread. I in the pandemic where everybody was doing things online, I worked with people in Germany, in India, in Switzerland, in Taiwan. So, as well as, people from all over the world fly to Montana to take classes in person with the founder of Theta Healing, Vienna, and her family. So it is really widespread.
Well, I know that on right before New Year's, and I'm always so interested in manifestation, always, almost to the point of, people are like, no, not again. You're not talking about it again. But I did take a class with you in regards to manifestation. I do follow along with, certain trends that people are talking about with manifestation. For people that are listening, can you, maybe give us a couple pointers in using Theta Healing? And we'll need to get those really quick because I just got a note from our producer that we'll need to come to an end here. But any quick tips?
So, quick tips for manifestation. Just like everything else, feel it before it comes. You need to feel the manifestation being there before it will come. And if you're manifesting for something and it's not coming, there's a reason why. Like, why are you blocking that from having it yourself? Why is there a block there? Why is it not manifesting? Just feel into that and start working with that and release that, and maybe do journaling. Journaling really helps, is to like, well, if I had all the money in the world, this, and this would happen. A lot of people come up with the positive things, but what other things might happen? Why, if you felt like you had all the money in the world and you have all this positive energy towards it, what's keeping it from you? What's there? It's not to focus on the negative 100%, but it's really to figure out what your subconscious is doing to keep you away from whatever you're manifesting. Generally with money, I find that a lot of people have this thing with money, like, if I had all the money in the world, my in-laws would take it, or everybody would want it, or if you are manifesting for a red car but you don't like the color red, that could be why that you don't manifest the red car. But I know that sounds weird, but the subconscious mind kind of works like that. So just journaling would really help, and really feeling into the manifestation.
Well, thank you so much for those tips. And we've now come to the end of our hour. It just went so fast. Thank you, Stacy, for being here and sharing so much information with us. And I wanted to thank my brother, Tim, who's online, even though he's being a sponge and quiet. Tim is actually going to be going in for a procedure tomorrow. So if you want to extend a prayer for somebody, please send that out. And then special thank you to Neil Janklow for joining us today amongst storm conditions, power outages, and windstorms and everything else that we're experiencing. And
a lot of drama.
All the trauma. And then thank you to Cameron, who is our producer at CTR Network. And we miss Gloria Steiner and Chrisanne Carwitz. And so until next week, everybody, thank you. And once again, thank you, Stacy.
Thank you.